Welcome to my 2022 Range Arc Glacor guide. I noticed online in certain RuneScape groups that people were having issues with the Arc Glacor, mainly having 4 to 6 minute long kills on hard mode. In this guide, we're going to go over what you can do to speed up your kill times, because the faster you kill the Arc Glacor, the sooner you'll get a frozen core. First, let's organize our gear and inventory. Here is my range setup. Tier 90 Serenic Armor with your basic perks, Relentless 5, Crackling 4, Biting 2, the higher the better, Mobile, Enhanced Devoted 4, Impatient 4. On to the weapons, I have Tier 90 Ascension Crossbows, Main Hand with Precise 6, Aftershock 1, and Offhand with Caroming 4. Also, a Planted Feet switch to extend my Death Swiftness, and a shield switch to use defensive abilities. Cinderbanes will be best in slot here, as well as enhanced fleeting boots 2, 2 Essence of Finalities, one with Dark Bow spec and the other with a Serene God Bow spec, Scripture of Wen for my pocket slot item, Tyran Wind Quiver to hold my Ruby Criminal Bolts, Max Cape, several ring switches, Vigor, Ring of Death, and Luck of Dwarves. Now, I know that was a lot of information to throw at you, and by no means does your gear have to be exactly the same. This is simply my best gear. Next, we will go over my inventory setup. I have 1 Elder Overload Salve, 1 Adrenaline Renewal Potion, 1 Super Restore Potion, 1 Weapon Poison Pot, 10 Vulnerability Bombs, 100 Mechanized Chimchampas, 4 Saradomin Brews, 4 Blue Blubber Jellyfish, 2 Sailfish, 2 Grasping Rune Pouches with runes for Disruption Shield and Vengeance, all my various switches, and lastly 25 Hydrix per Criminal Bolts E. We will of course bring a Ripper Demon with some scrolls, and remember to use either the Reckless Aura, Majorat, or Inspiration Aura. Reckless being the easiest to obtain with Marks of War. You can use whatever highest overload you have access to, same with Adrenaline Potion. Weapon Poison is a must-have, same with Sarah Brews. You can substitute the Super Restore for a Super Prayer Renewal Pot or Prayer Renewal Potion. Mechanized Chimchampas are essential for range to speed up killing the Glaciite minions. Vuln Bombs will speed up your kills significantly, so bring those. The Jellyfish are meant for small bits of health, so you don't lose Adrenaline. The Sailfish are for panic eating. You don't need an Essence of Finality, an Amulet of Souls, or Reaper Necklace will work just fine. But again, if you want faster kills, 1 Essence of Finality will go a long way. The Lunar Spells and Rune Pouches are not necessary for faster kills. They're simply there for extra damage and to tank a free hit. The Planted Feet switch is highly recommended. The longer you're in your Death Swiftness, the more damage you will do in your ability rotations. Lastly, before we go into rotations and abilities, let's go over our archaeology relics. I personally use Persistent Rage, Heightened Senses, and Fury of the Small. Use whatever relics you have access to, although I prefer these ones purely for the quality of life aspects. On to rotations and abilities. I personally use Revolution for my basic abilities, and I manually use my thresholds and ultimate abilities. I will use this rotation on screen for the entire fight, although throughout I will mix in Essence of Finality special attacks and defensive abilities as needed. Essentially, if I see my Greater Ricochet come down off cooldown, I'll fire it off. And if I have excess Adrenaline, I'll sometimes dump it with my Dark Bow special attack. I will also try to use Needle Strike before using my Rapid Fire and Shadow Tendrils thresholds. Whenever my Serene God Bow special attack comes down off cooldown, I'll also fire it off. But I make sure to use it when it's appropriate. Pretty much whenever there are no Glaciite minions in sight and when the Arc Glacor is vulnerable to damage. Here's an example of how quickly I can kill the Arc Glacor. It may take time and practice, but before you know it, you'll be able to get 3-minute kills under 500% enrage every time. Of course, since the boss's mechanics are random, sometimes you may get unfavorable mechanics at the start, like the Glacite minions or the creeping ice pillars. Trust me, I've had rotations ruined by Glacite minions spawning and immediately making my SGB spec pointless. Before I end this video, I also want to emphasize that gear and invention perks matter, but having the right rotations will help you achieve better DPS. Also, my friend Al-Just-Checks, I'll put his name on screen, he wanted me to include that if you have an ECB, Scripture of Full, and an Igneous Ket cape, you should be able to get even more faster kills. Believe me, he has over 1200 hard mode KC at Art Glacor. He knows what he's talking about.